Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the quietest, yet absolutely most extraordinary lifesaver in all of human history. We're looking at an object that doesn't beep, it doesn't glow, it doesn't connect to Wi-Fi, it just sits quietly right beside your sink. Yet, public health experts and historians all agree that this humble little brick has probably saved more human lives than countless famous inventions combined.
So, just picture this for a second. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and every single bar of soap in the world has completely vanished. Not just from your bathroom, but from hospitals, from restaurants, schools, airports, everywhere. At first you might think, hey, minor inconvenience, I'll just rinse with water and move on, right? But within just a few days, that absence would trigger a catastrophic microscopic war.
The immediate fallout would be terrifying, precisely because it's completely invisible to us. Food poisoning cases would quietly start climbing. Hospital infections would dramatically spike after the most routine surgeries. Invisible armies of bacteria and viruses would just move effortlessly from person to person, hitching a ride on our fingertips, door handles, and our food. Millions of lives would suddenly become incredibly fragile, exposed to pathogens that modern medicine had almost completely forgotten about. We'd be entirely vulnerable.
Section 1. The Accidental Discovery. Chemistry around the campfire.
You know, for the vast majority of human history, cleanliness was tied purely to survival, not to killing germs, mostly because no one even knew germs existed. In fact, the very first soap was a complete and total accident. Picture an ancient campsite right after a big feast. Animal fat is dripping down into glowing embers. That wood burns down into a soft gray ash, and then morning rain falls, trickling through those ashes and mixing with the leftover fat. Eventually, someone notices that rubbing this weird, slippery paste between their fingers removes greasy residue way better than just plain water. There was no lab, just complete, beautiful chance.
That beautiful accident is a perfect example of something called saponification. Thousands of years before anyone actually understood molecules or modern chemistry, our ancestors unknowingly mastered this exact chemical reaction. They used this strange paste as a super practical tool for cleaning cooking pots, softening wool, and preparing animal hides. They were literally doing chemistry without the textbooks.
Section 2. Empires of Cleanliness. Doing the right thing for the wrong reasons.
As humanity started settling into crowded, disease-prone cities, the stakes got so much higher. But it's fascinating because different empires approached cleanliness in entirely different and sometimes baffling ways. Take the mighty Romans versus the northern tribes. The Romans built these massive, stunning architectural marvels for bathhouses, but their go-to method for getting clean? Coating themselves in olive oil and scraping it off, along with all the dirt and sweat, using a curved bronze tool called a strigil. Meanwhile, the northern tribes, like the Gauls, were actually using that rustic, saponified paste of animal fat and ashes. Ironically, the sophisticated Romans looked at the actual soap used by these barbarians and thought it was completely unrefined.
But across different civilizations, the craft steadily evolved. We literally have Mesopotamian clay tablets from 2800 BCE recording deliberate soap recipes. We see ancient Egyptians elevating washing with a mineral called natron to a strict spiritual requirement. And look at the Middle Ages. Aleppo soap, crafted with premium olive and laurel oil, became the absolute gold standard across the Islamic world and Europe. This totally debunks that stubborn myth that the Middle Ages were just a filthy era where bathing completely stopped. The craft was actually thriving.
But here was the fatal flaw. Without microscopes, humanity was fighting this war totally blindfolded. They relied heavily on the miasma theory, which basically blamed massive tragedies like the Black Death on bad air or foul smells. Now, to be fair to them, they did notice that places that smelled terrible often made people sick, but they had the cause and effect completely backwards. The true microscopic enemies, like the bacteria causing the plague, were thriving in the unsanitary conditions, not in the smells themselves.
Section 3. The Invisible Enemy Revealed. The Tragedy and the Triumph. The massive turning point in this invisible war didn't happen in a royal court, and it didn't even happen in a hospital. It happened under the lens of a 17th century Dutch cloth merchant who was just obsessed with grinding glass.
When Antonie van Leeuwenhoek looked at a single drop of water through his handcrafted microscope back in 1674, he was speechless. He discovered what he called animalcules, these tiny little creatures darting around. He revealed a staggering microscopic universe hiding right in plain sight. For the very first time, humanity realized that just because you can't see something definitely doesn't mean it isn't there. Yet, as staggering as that discovery was, for almost 200 more years, doctors remained dangerously in the dark. 19th century surgeons literally wore bloody aprons as a badge of honor, a status symbol showing off their experience. They would march directly from an autopsy straight to delivering a baby with completely unwashed hands, unknowingly spreading deadly childbed fever. Meanwhile, midwives, who weren't performing autopsies, naturally maintained much cleaner practices, and their patients survived at drastically higher rates. Which brings us to a massive yet deeply tragic breakthrough in the 1840s. Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis noticed this huge discrepancy and forced the doctors in his ward to wash their hands with a chlorinated lime solution. The result? A massive 90% drop in mortality. 90%. But instead of throwing him a parade, his insulted peers tragically rejected his findings. They just couldn't accept the idea that gentlemen physicians were the ones actually causing the deaths of their own patients.
It wasn't until Louis Pasteur came along and proved germ theory that the missing piece of the puzzle finally snapped into place. Pasteur proved that microscopic organisms actually cause disease, and with that, the world finally understood what soap had been doing this whole time. It wasn't just making things look pretty or smell better, it was physically disrupting and washing away dangerous microorganisms. Science had finally caught up to the campfire.
Section 4. The Unfinished Story. Modern Miracles and Global Challenges.
Armed with this incredible new science, the Industrial Revolution brought soap straight to the masses. It went from an expensive, slow-to-make luxury item to the absolute foundation of worldwide public health. It quickly took its place on the front lines of modern history. In 1918, hand washing was aggressively promoted to defend against the Spanish flu. Throughout the 20th century, regular hygiene habits drove dramatic drops in infant mortality. And fast forward to 2019, in an era of supercomputers and artificial intelligence, our primary global defense during the early days of a novel coronavirus lockdown was washing our hands. Time and time again, this simple campfire chemistry remains our most vital frontline defense. And here's exactly how that chemistry works on a microscopic level. It's honestly an elegant chemical battle. Soap molecules are really unique. One end absolutely loves water, and the other end loves oils and fats. So when you lather up, these molecules physically wedge themselves right into the protective, fatty outer layers of certain viruses. They literally tear the lipid envelope apart, rendering the virus completely inactive. Then the water just washes the ruined remnants down the drain. 20 seconds of patience, and you are conducting a microscopic masterclass in molecular destruction.
But here is the really crucial point. We know how to fight the invisible war now. But despite everything we've learned over thousands of years, over 2 billion people worldwide still lack safely managed drinking water and basic hand-washing facilities at home. 2 billion. That makes hygiene not just a story of chemistry, but a story of profound global inequality. For hundreds of millions of people, washing their hands isn't about simply remembering to do it, it's about a fundamental lack of basic infrastructure.
The next time you stand at a sink and watch those bubbles disappear down the drain, remember you are holding thousands of years of human curiosity right in the palm of your hand. Soap is this quiet, unassuming hero that silently saved millions, never asking for a round of applause. And it leaves us with an incredibly provocative thought to ponder today. As we look at this humble little bar beside the sink, we have to ask ourselves, what other everyday, ordinary items surrounding us right now hold secrets that could alter the entire course of human survival without us even realizing it?